Let's go to Ricky from Charlotte. Ricky, you can unmute yourself and then I'll be able to hear you and then we'll be able to talk and it'll be great. Ricky, you are self-muted, but you can unmute and then you will be all good.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to ask you, I'm trying to sort of digest the results from the election and get an idea of a lot of the meanings of the results. And one of the things I was thinking about was the the Republicans' underperformance. What do you think this means about um, a lot of the right's efforts and investments going all in on culture wars and especially like a lot of their a lot of the investments they've made in alternative media seem like outlets like the Daily Wire, Turning Points USA, and then just a plethora of different like online streamers and people like Tim Pool and like all these things that are doing like the disaffected liberal dance
Yeah.
and things like that. And seeing that it seems to me like I'm just surprised that none of it has really shown up electorally. I mean, is that surprising?
I don't think it's surprising. And here's why. Um, Based on what we saw online, it wouldn't have been crazy to expect Bernie Sanders to win the 2020 Democratic primary. If you looked online, you would have thought Tulsi Gabbard certainly must have more than 2% support. And Bernie's probably going to run away with this thing. And of course, that wasn't the case because so much of what voters do doesn't involve posting to Twitter and Reddit or whatever the case. So sometimes we like misunderstand the size of a movement based on looking at social media. Similarly, even though, for example, in the lead up to 2022, much of what we heard from Trump and Kerry Lake and others was about they stole 2020 and I really won and all this different stuff. Um, a lot of Republican voters are not interested in that, and to some degree they rejected it. Right? They rejected J.R. Majewski and John Gibbs and Kerry Lake and Tudor Dixon and so on and so forth. Now, I think the risk is some people look at one election and they take some huge overarching conclusion from it. And we really shouldn't do that. Each election gives us a little bit of information about a couple of things. So, like, it's not that the stop the steal stuff isn't real within the Republican electorate. It's just not quite as popular as it might seem from following Trump. And so it didn't go that well for Republicans. And so the important thing I think for Democrats to do is to try to get a better grasp on what isn't working for Republicans. And for example, it was a good strategy for Democrats to play up the big lie stuff in 2022 because they correctly assessed a lot of Republicans aren't going for it. I don't know that there has to be some grand takeaway, but it's a lot of little takeaways.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with a lot of the little takeaways, the themes, in the results. But I guess the thing that I'm just like really interested in is it seems to me like on a national level, like the Republican politicians have really like adopted a lot of online rhetoric and language, and you see like a lot of proximity with what this new movement of like young right wing conservatives, like Ben Shapiro and the
Yes.
Daily Wire and Charlie Kirk and all of them, and they have these things like they have CPAC and the Charlie Kirk's group has like multiple events and stuff per year.
Yep.
And I'm like, is that just is it just they're investing in all that because they're trying to push back against the fact that there's this rise in young voters that are left wing and they're scared
to some
about
degree.
it?
Yeah, I think they see the demographics. They know that 18 to 29-year-olds are voting pretty left, and unfortunately, they are smart to do what they're doing. They are pouring money into trying to grab up those young voters, and so my concern is, even though 18 to 29-year-olds and soon to be 18-year-olds are a huge opportunity for the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party doesn't seem as committed to pouring the money into independent media shows and events and this type of thing. The right is smart to do it, and the left needs to get on the ball.
Yeah. So you think it could eventually start showing some electoral effects?
It could. It could.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope that they catch up on this because, I mean, I am glad to see that they weren't able to effectively make, transing the kids is this number one issue. I don't think anybody really voted on that and stuff, but they're clearly like trying a lot with this cultural.
They absolutely are. They absolutely are. We got to be ready. Yeah. Ricky, thank you for the call.
Thank you, David.
All right, there is Ricky. If you have a friend or loved one who is passionate about the environment, here is a perfect holiday gift. Our sponsor, Established Titles, is a project that lets you ceremonially purchase as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land in Edelston, Scotland, so that you can call yourself a lord or a lady, like the historic Scottish tradition. Some people even change their plane tickets or credit cards to include lord or lady. Your title pack comes with an official certificate. You can see exactly where your plot of land is located. It makes a perfect last-minute gift. But most importantly, Established Titles plants 1 free tree for every plot of land sold. Established Titles does really good work all over the world with reforestation organizations like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. So you'll have a great laugh whether you're Scottish or not. I'm not. But you're giving the gift of reforestation to fight climate change. If you use my link, you'll get 10% off, and your plot of land will be right next to mine. You can see it on a map. Go to establishedtitles.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for an extra 10% off on top of their Black Friday deal. The link is down below.